I'm Adam Driggers, and this is Beneath the Surface, a channel designed to encourage deeper engagement with the Bible. In this video, I want to explore the biblical character Gog of Magog. Now, in a previous video I titled, Can Angels Die?, I referenced Revelation 20, 7 through 10, in John's description of Satan's release from the bottomless pit to gather the nations. There he calls the nations Gog and Magog. Here's what he says in verses 7 and 8. And when the 1,000 years are ended, Satan will be released from his prison and will come out to deceive the nations that are at the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them for battle. Their number is like the sand of the sea. Now, in this video, I want to go beneath the surface of the passages about God and explore the question, who or what is Gog? Now, while Revelation 27 and 8 is a well-known passage about Gog, Ezekiel 38 and 39 provides more detailed information about Gog. Ezekiel 38 and 39 describe what's called the Gog-Magog War. It begins, "The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, set your face towards Gog of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him and say, Thus says the Lord God, Behold, I am against you, O Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal." So right away we see that despite what's implied in Revelation 20, Gog is not necessarily a group of nations. He is from the land of Magog and the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. For comparison, consider Daniel. Chapter 10 is where we see, or where we read about the prince of Persia who opposed angels sent from God. The prince of Persia is not human. He is a divine power ruling over Persia. In the same chapter, we are briefly introduced to the prince of Greece, another divine power. It seems that Gog is at least on the same level as these divine princes, but the impression is that he's even more than that because he musters an alliance of nations and powers. Ezekiel 38, 4 through 6. And I will turn you about and put hooks into your jaws, and I will bring you out and all your army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed in full armor, a great host, all of them with buckler and shield, wielding swords. Persia, Cush, and Put are with them, all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer and all his hordes, Beth Togarmah from the uttermost parts of the north with all his hordes. Many people are with you. Now this is God speaking to Gog through the prophet. He will bring Gog out with a multinational force. Their target, well, it's Israel. Ezekiel 38, 7 and 8. Be ready and keep ready, you and all your hosts that are assembled about you, and be a guard for them. After many days you will be mustered. In the latter years you will go against the land that is restored for more, the land whose people were gathered from many peoples upon the mountains of Israel, which had been a continual waste. Its people were brought out from the peoples and now dwell securely, all of them. So far we know that Gog is a prince similar to the divine princes of Daniel 7, but he has broader influence, it seems. He will oppose the land of Israel once its people are fully gathered from the nations to the mountains of Israel. There is a great deal to explore regarding Israel's return to the land. Too much for a video like this, but some of it's necessary. So Ezekiel is in Babylon. He's been exiled there from Jerusalem by King Nebuchadnezzar. Now, while in Babylon, he is instructed to prophesy about the land and people of Israel. He prophesies that they will return to the land. The second part of Ezekiel 37 describes all the tribes of Israel, the tribes of the southern kingdom represented by Judah, and the tribes of the northern kingdom represented by Joseph, specifically Ephraim. Now, you can check out my book, 6 Rules to Understand the Revelation, to see how I connect this passage to the two witnesses of Revelation 11. Now, some believe Ezekiel's prophecy of return was fulfilled during the time of Ezra and Nehemiah. That's after Cyrus the Persian decreed that Israel could return. But I disagree. We do not see a mass return to Israel during the period. In fact, Acts 2 shows us that the Jews were still scattered all over the known world, and you can refer to Romans 2:5 for that. Now, that leaves the prophecy to be fulfilled in the future, and most believe that this is an end times prophecy. Now, in this view, the battle of Gog and Magog is the final battle, the one that ends all battles, and the last judgment for that matter. Now, this is a straightforward assumption because the Gog and Magog War follows directly after the return described in Ezekiel 36 and 37. This perspective is undoubtedly John's as he writes Revelation chapter 20. It is after the battle of Gog and Magog that Satan is cast into the lake of fire, along with death and Hades, and the kingdom of God is established forever. Paul seems to agree, since he states that death is the last enemy to be destroyed. That's 1 Corinthians 15:26. And that happens just before Christ turns everything over to the Father. So far we know that Gog is a divine power that influences nations to come against Israel. But which nations? Ezekiel 38 lists several nations, but the list is limited in scope when compared to what is stated in Revelation 20, where we're told that the nations from the four corners are allied with Gog. Now, nations coming from the four corners implies that all nations from every direction come against Israel. We can reconcile this small difference by visualizing the nations in Ezekiel 38 on a map as they're found around Jerusalem. So Beth Togarmah represents the north. It actually says the uttermost parts of the north. Persia is east of Israel, Cush south of Israel, and Put west of Israel. So that's the four corners, the four directions. So now we know that Gog is a divine power with global influence. But we can go deeper than that. There's a clue in Ezekiel 38 that connects Gog to one of the great chaos creatures in the Bible. Here's what verse 4 states. And I will turn you about and put hooks into your jaws, and I will bring you out. Now, this description links Gog to Leviathan from the book of Job, chapter 41. Verses 1 and 2 states, can you draw out Leviathan with a fish hook, or press down his tongue with a cord? Can you put a rope in his nose or pierce his jaw with a hook? Now, the question God asked Job is rhetorical, and the clear answer is no. Job cannot pull Leviathan out of its place with a hook, but it's obvious that God can. God can put a hook in Gog's mouth and lead him anywhere he chooses. Now, does the connection between Ezekiel 38 and Job 41 suggest that Gog is also Leviathan? Well, it might be too early to tell, but more connections can be made to support the idea that Gog does indeed represent the chaos monster known as Leviathan. In ancient Ugaritic texts, Leviathan is described as a seven-headed creature. The Bible, however, never explicitly states that Leviathan has seven heads, but it does state that Leviathan has multiple heads. So in Psalm 74, the psalmist describes God crushing the heads, plural, heads of Leviathan. This is verses 13 and 14. You divided the sea by your might. You broke the heads of the sea monsters on the water. You crushed the heads of Leviathan. You gave him as food for the creatures of the wilderness. So since ancient Ugaritic texts indicate that Leviathan had seven heads, and the Hebrew Bible confirms that Leviathan had multiple heads, we can begin to consider another biblical connection that can be drawn to Leviathan. This time, there are seven heads. Revelation 13, 1 and 2. And I saw a beast rising out of the sea with 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 diadems on its horns and blasphemous names on its heads. And the beast that I saw was like a leopard. Its feet were like a bear's, and its mouth was like a lion's mouth. And to it the dragon gave his power and his throne and great authority. Admittedly, this isn't a direct link to Leviathan, but it's a sea creature like Leviathan, and it has 7 heads, just like the Leviathan character in the Ugaritic text. It's not a direct connection, but it's a strong one. Now, this connection is further reinforced by linking the beast from Revelation 13 to the beast described in Daniel 7. The description of the beast clearly connect the 2 chapters. The 4 beasts of Daniel 7 are described as follows. The first resembled a lion. The second, a bear. The third was like a leopard with 4 heads, and the fourth was a terrifying beast with 10 horns. Together, these 4 beasts have 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast from Daniel 7 comes from the sea, stirred up by the 4 winds. In the Bible, the 4 winds symbolizes the cardinal directions, the 4 corners. So when we compare Daniel 7, 1 through 8 with Revelation 13, 1 and 2, we see a clear similarity between them. You might also remember from Revelation 20 that Satan is released to gather the nations from the 4 corners, and they are collectively called Gog and Magog. So these details begin to connect Gog with the Leviathan monster, the chaos monster. Now, in the video I referenced earlier, Can Angels Die?, I argue that the four beasts of Daniel 7 represent the spiritual powers behind the nations. There I state that they are the leading players in a supernatural conflict against the God of Israel. As the details are aligned, the candidate for Gog is coming into focus. Gog is the beast of Revelation 13. He represents an alliance of powers from Daniel 7, originating from the four winds or four directions. They are united in their rebellion against God to defeat his son, the Son of Man from Daniel 7. This makes sense in light of the data. In Revelation 13, the beast is empowered by Satan, and he works hand in hand with Satan to bring the nations to Israel for the final judgment. Revelation 16, 13, and 14. And I saw coming out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet, three unclean spirits like frogs. For they are demonic spirits performing signs who go abroad to the kings of the whole world to assemble them for battle on the great day of God the Almighty. Now you can see that a third player is at work in Revelation 16, and his presence only strengthens the connection between Gog, the beast, and Leviathan. So earlier we looked at Leviathan in Job 41, but we didn't look at Job 40, where we're introduced to Behemoth, a creature that is different from a Leviathan in that it appears to be a land creature. So this is how the false prophet is described in Revelation 13:11. Then I saw another beast rising out of the earth. Now, there's still a lot to explore, but it's time to put a bow on this one, right? We got to wrap this one up. So, much is made of the nations listed in Ezekiel 38, but we miss the point when we dwell on the individual nations. Gog and Magog are intended to evoke the concept of the forces behind the nations. These are the rebellious sons of God who are judged in the courtroom scenes of Daniel 7 and passages like Psalm 82. They are the thrones and dominions Paul speaks about in the New Testament, the spiritual forces in heavenly places, Ephesians 6:12. These spiritual forces are the true enemy. These powers are collectively referred to as Gog and Magog. They will gather all nations against Israel at some time in the future. They will be directed by Satan, who is released from his prison and acts as the hook in the jaw of Gog to bring him, the nations, against the land of unwalled people, the mountains of Israel. So the next time you read about Gog, think about the beast and Leviathan. Think about the words of Paul in Ephesians 6. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against spiritual forces in heavenly places. Ephesians 6:12 and 13. These ideas are meant to connect. Now, if you want to learn more about Gog and the powers, you can check out my book, 6 Rules to Understand the Revelation. It's available on Amazon and most bookstores. Keep an eye out for the course by the same title, 6 Rules to Understand the Revelation, which will be available soon on Teachable. You can subscribe to this channel and have access to the content as I post it immediately, actually. And then check out the video, Can Angels Die, if you haven't already. Listen, if you like the content, make sure you hit the like button, right? If you enjoy the video and you're interested in the content, let me know in the content in the comments. If you didn't or you disagree, well, drop that in the comments as well. I'd love to know why and explore alternative views. Thanks for watching.